TWM podcast.
Hello, I'm Matty Deller and welcome to Best of the Rest. It's your Friday roundup of the odds and ends in your wrestling week. Brought to you by TWM Podcasts. There's someone moves paper in the background. Bringing you all wrestling content 6 days a week on Apple and Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Acast, TuneIn, Podbean and YouTube. Please subscribe over at YouTube, smash that like button, turn on notifications and help us reach 100 subscribers. It doesn't sound little, but we did start it a little while ago. We got all our podcasts and other videos up there. We got some more stuff coming from Jess very, very soon about British wrestling, and we're going to do some other fun video content on there as well. Let's get the admin out of the way. We're brought to you by We Love Sport, a fantastic app that will help you find your nearest sports bars, showcasing the latest WWE pay-per-views, but of course we can't do that right now, but they are doing fantastic stuff on their website, welovesport.co, and on their social media at We Love Sport UK to keep everyone busy and happy and occupied. Also, WrestleCrate, go over there, use the code TWM Wrestling to get up to 3 free items with your next box. That's WrestleCrate.co.uk and use the code TWM Wrestling for up to 3 free items. Tidy boys. I am a Matty Deller who is for the first time since being in quarantine wasn't in a good mood first thing this morning. I've usually been alright.
Oh no.
But considering it was meant to be DTI this weekend, Fight Club Pro.
Oh, I forgot about that, and you've just reminded me, and now you've pissed me off.
Yeah, so I was like, I know it's happening. It will happen in July if we're allowed out. But then again, but luckily with the stuff we watched today, I was put in a much better mood. Also, knowing the fact that I would be doing a podcast and having a chat with one of my longest friends, not in regards of being tall, she's quite short, but I've known her for the longest time, and viral TikTok sensation. It's Kymmie. Hello there.
Hi.
You went viral yesterday, which is hilarious.
I went viral on TikTok. I have no idea how it happened, but I went viral on TikTok yesterday. I don't know how it happened. But
I could be really cynical and be like, I wonder how I
wonder how a girl with large breasts goes viral on TikTok. In fact, you know what? I'm actually proud of myself because the one that went viral, you actually can't see my breasts in.
People could they could like sense them.
I can imagine it.
They could sense them.
Sense them. I sense the big breasts.
I sense boobs. Anyway, we could get down into some sort of weird cul-de-sac, but we have got a lot to discuss. We're talking about Impact, a lot of things going on in there, Dark Side of the Ring, and a bit of top. There's no NXT UK because there'd be no tapings. They did a documentary thing last night. If you want to find out about that and you can't bother to watch it, Dave wrote a fantastic kind of review of it all over at twm.news, so go and check that out. So yes. So without further ado, let's get into some wrestles. In the main event of Impact, rivals imploded dead as Tessa Blanchard and Eddie Edwards couldn't get along to take the Impact Tag Team titles from the North in tonight's main event. After the match, Michael Elgin attacked Tessa Blanchard and Eddie Edwards. He did a help. Be careful, I don't want you over gasping.
Sound effects.
I know, I don't want you over gasping.
Coronavirus.
That had nothing to do. Nothing to do with gasp. If that would be some sort of the happening level of crap. If over gasping caused that to happen. They attacked his fallen opponent, standing tall. Eddie Edwards did not help. It was a fantastic main event. I did enjoy the main event. It was a pretty episode of Impact, but the match between Tessa and Eddie against the North, and also they didn't do the typical WWE booking of, oh my god, we've made the rivals the tag team champions. They did the right thing of the champion being like, no, I want to work alone, and it costing Tessa. It did make Tessa look a little bit dumb, but it did work in the grand scheme of things because she's acting silly to prove a point, almost.
Yeah, this is why I like the Impact storylines, because they're not afraid to do, to go outside the box and not do the norm. Like, with WWE, it's very predictable what's going to happen.
Yeah.
We know what storylines are coming up. We know this is going to happen. And while Impact does still stay like that, it actually doesn't in the long run, because you're like, oh, that's not what I thought was going to happen.
Because, like, the typical WWE one, and this is not bashing WWE, this is just they have their tropes. No. And this is a trope of it'd be, oh my god, they can't get along, but they're still the tag team champions. But how can they get along if they don't like each other? This one is, they couldn't get along, one of them made a silly error, and it cost them the match. And it keeps everyone looking strong, because Tessa looks like... I said she looks silly, but she looks more like a hothead. Like she's just wants to work alone, and she's doing the female on top thing of like, I need to prove that I belong here, so I don't need anyone's help. I don't need no man. I'm a strong, independent female champion, and I don't need no man. And Eddie's just like, I would like to win the tag titles, please, but I do want your title. And also they kept the North looking strong, because you had Michael Hogan come in and be like, I want in this match. One of you leave, and the North are like, no. We're the tag team champions. No, go away. We have belts, you don't. And they kept them strong. However, the key thing is they are still promoting Rebellion, and we all assumed, well, that means Rebellion's off, Rebellion's cancelled. They're just going to have to like, we're going to get to the end of this tapings, and then there's going to be no more Impact. No, Tommy Dreamer went on Bully Ray's radio show, Busted Open, I think Busted Open, like one of those, and announced that they are getting a group of them in Nashville to bulk tape for the longest period of time, which potentially should include Rebellion, and that would mean that Rebellion could possibly just be on Impact. They'll just do like, oh, we're doing a special, or they might just record it later WrestleMania and put it out maybe as a cheaper pay-per-view. So that's why if you watch the when they announced the matches, they didn't announce it in New York. They went, Rebellion's happening, and it looks like we're not going without Impact. It looks like they're going to tape a whole bunch of stuff in Nashville, because I think Nashville is one of the few places that isn't locked down yet.
I don't know where's lockdown in America.
But it's not as if any of them are paying attention. By the way, if you're American, you're listening, and you're not obeying social distancing rules, do it, because guess what? We've been doing it for about 4 weeks. Yes, it's dull. Yes, it's boring. But there's already scope that this could be over in the next month. So it fucking works. We'll be allowed outside, probably just as it starts raining. But still, someone did mention that online.
If you listen to medical advice, it actually works. It's funny.
Yeah, like we could be out by the summer, but the funny thing is, it made me laugh. Someone went, guarantee the day they announced like lockdown and it's being relaxed and we're allowed outside, I bet it rains. I guarantee it will rain.
It's England, of course it's gonna.
But yeah, it looks like we're going to get Rebellion in one form or another, which is great, which is good news, because I know it's one of those weird things of everything else has been cancelled, so why is wrestling somehow managed to slip through the net and they're able to still record shows? But then at the same time, I don't think, like, these are major companies that are doing this, so one would imagine that they are not letting anyone through the door without like 100% clean bill of health.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
It's one of those places, I imagine, like, because I know that AEW did say that anyone who walked through the door had to have a full medical before they came into the building.
Oh, really?
So that's what Tony Khan said. He went, when you came through the door, you went straight to a doctor, you had a full medical, and they made sure you were 100% healthy and able to stay there for the foreseeable. So, so one would imagine that a physio is going to at least give people a once-over before they're allowed in the building, apart from WWE potentially letting The Miz in with a cold.
Really?
Which is what they did before Mania. That's why Roman ended up dropping out of Mania. That's the rumour. Because Miz came in with a cold. He didn't have coronavirus. They said it was just the flu. He had the flu.
Right.
But Roman and the Usos were really, really angry, apparently, and Roman's like, yeah, no, I'm not risking it. I'm off Mania.
Roman, they've got kids and stuff. Like, especially Roman, because he's
immunocompromised. Yeah, it's one of those things. Of course, the biggest company in the world is the one that takes the stupidest risk. Of course they do. But yeah, so it looks like we're going to get more of that going forward, but more news as we get it. Anyway, other bits on Impact. We opened the show with Willie Mack being very, very angry, and he can't do that very, very well. He's too laid back to be angry.
Yeah, he can't. Yeah,
it didn't really work. Like, he should just come out and I've been like just said he should have been a man of few words. He called out Reno Scum and he beat them in a handicap match because Reno Scum just they're Bebop and Rocksteady. They're the ninjas that the Power Rangers face before they face the big boss. They just are. I don't know what they're called. I would say
really good way of explaining it.
Yeah, I would say ninjas, but I don't think they are ninjas. Whatever they are. Ace Dawson jumps in and drops him with the fold, and that match is leading towards Rebellion. We do get some interaction between Kylie Ray and Susie, and they must be a tag team at some point. I hope so. I want them to be almost like X-Pac and Kane. You know where X-Pac tries to teach Kane to be human? I want Kylie Ray to teach Susie to be a human being. It'd be brilliant. It looks so. Kylie Ray's going to face Kira Hogan at Rebellion. Then she wrestled Susie, and they had more They had more kind of like world building with Susie, where she can wrestle now because she remembers that she's also Su Yung, so she can do a wrestle.
Oh, okay.
But she can't find her glove that Su Yung has, so she gets confused and hurts herself in her confusion. Which was good. I liked it. We got Chris Bay over Darga. Really good match. We could probably say friend of the show, Chris Bay, because Chris Bay is friends with Smiley off of Smack Talk, so...
we'll do that.
Friend of the show, Chris Bay.
We'll steal that.
Over Darga. Good match. Bay's very charismatic, so it was a bit weird they've had him as a heel, but he seems quite good as a heel. So, I will say Darga did do a dive, and they did mention on commentary, but you could see he went face first into the floor, off the ramp.
That weren't pretty. That actually made me cringe.
It was not. Then we got some other bits and bobs. We got Taya had Johnny Bravo wrapped up in pillows and was hitting him with a chair. Which is probably good anger management, if we're honest. We're going to get Taya and Jordan Grace, which you've not seen literally in ages on this show, but she is the Knockouts champion. They're going to have a Full Metal Mayhem match, which is just TLC between them two. We got a segment with the Rascals in the treehouse, and they were meant to be scouting the main event, but they all invited a tag team. The Dinas, Falabar, TJP, and Triple XL turned up, and apparently hilarity ensued. It was just weird. didn't really understand the whole thing. Havoc defeated Madison Rain, which was a good showcase for Jessica Havoc because she's now a face. I think she's a face now.
I have no idea what's going on.
Because she killed James Mitchell, so I'm assuming she's a face. And she was wrestling Madison Rain, who's a heel. The thing is, though, do you notice that? Like, I know they left like a 5-minute gap between Madison Rain getting dropped on her head from a tombstone and her being back on commentary, but she could have acted like she was out of breath, like she'd just done an exercise. Because no one is not going to be like, whew, like they're not going to be like completely fine, like nothing happened 5 minutes after getting battered by a woman twice your size.
This is what annoys me. It's okay. It comes down to selling, doesn't it?
Yeah, just like a little bit of out of breathing, like sharp breaths.
Just put your hand across your chest or something. Or
I'll be like, act like you're in pain when you're on.
Yeah.
Obviously, we can't see them because they've pre-recorded the commentary, but like, act like you're in pain a little bit. Ken Shamrock gives an update on the Fireball, and he didn't really sell it very well. So I just wrote, "Oh God, he had to use eye drops." So that's amazing. All he said was like, "Oh, I had to use eye drops. I could have lost my sight, but I had to use eye drops to stop the inflammation and infection."
Okay.
I was like, you literally made it sound like you had a mild headache rather than anything. We got a contract signing next week for the match between Sammy and Kenneth. I imagine someone's going to a table or someone's getting teleported. Rhino and Dreamer went over OVE because ECW has to always win in 2020. I don't care. OVE beat him down post-match. But we did get more drunk Rosemary chirpsing on men, which is always funny. And she checks all the men like they're dogs in cross, which made me laugh. Like she's going, you're fine, you'll do. Drink this and then I might suck your soul, which now sounds a lot worse than it actually is.
Yeah, that's that, yeah.
And then Swinger announces that he's bringing a young buck to Impact by the name of M. Jackson. It's going to be someone called Michael Jackson. But however, I don't know if you've seen it. Have you seen the that wrestler that went viral that dresses like Michael Jackson, does like the moonsault DDT? Yeah. If it was him, I'd genuinely pop.
Oh, if it is, I'll be well happy.
That'd be amazing. That weird wrestler from Brazil, I think it was, that does like a moonwalk DDT.
I think it's Brazil.
And then Tennille's back. Yay. She's facing Taya next week.
Yay.
Well, I said there was not really a lot going on in Impact. It was very much a building show. Hopefully we got the contract signing next week and we'll have more heading towards Rebellion, and then we'll know more about these tapings in Nashville and more content going forward from Impact Wrestling, which is always good to hear.
TWM podcasts are brought to you by We Love Sport, the fantastic app finding you your nearest sports bar showing the latest WWE pay-per-views. We Love Sport has over 400 of the best sports bars and pubs in the UK at your fingertips and allows you to book front row seats, giving you the best views of the action. You can also check out what sports are being shown over the next 7 days, making sure you don't miss a second of the action. Download the We Love Sport app on the App Store or Google Play Store. Follow We Love Sport on all social media platforms at We Love Sport UK and check out welovesport.co.
Episode Trez of Dark Side of the Ring, focusing on the Brawl for All. First question I want to ask is, have you ever watched the Brawl for All?
No, I did not know it was a thing until watching the Dark Side of the Ring, and I honestly thought that it was going to pop up saying April Fools.
Don't watch Brawl for All. However, if you want to get a little interesting insight in it, I will give a shout out to fellow podcasters and, from what I know, lovely gentlemen by the Attitude Era podcast. They did a whole thing on the Brawl for All many, many years ago, and it is a fascinating insight into it. This is a great thing as well, because the Brawl for All, it was a big mistake.
Oh, yeah.
And straight from the off in this episode, you know this is just... Basically, they filmed this of just Vince Russo versus Jim Cornette, which is fascinating viewing. I don't particularly like either of them. Like, they've both said things that are very offensive. Of course, Cornette has said several things that are considered racial and are racial.
Cornette is just racial.
And Vince Russo obviously came out with the immortal line of, "You cannot if you like Finn Balor, you must be gay." So
He did what?
when Finn Balor first debuted on Raw, he turned around and is like, "If you're a male and you like Finn Balor, you must be slightly gay." Because there's nothing else about him.
Is he on crack?
No, Vince Russo just doesn't understand modern wrestling.
Wow.
But this is the thing. They hate each other, but they have very similar outlooks on wrestling. As in, wrestling shouldn't be the way the wrestling shouldn't be the way it is now. It should be the way that I see it. And that's funny. They have both very similar outlooks, but different opinions, and therefore they hate each other. We do learn, and I knew this from the beginning, the epilogue of Brawl for All was basically that Russo didn't like Bradshaw and wanted to see him get battered, which is a mood that everyone could have, really.
Yeah, pretty much.
I think everyone wants to see JBL get knocked out.
Yeah.
We meet Bart Gunn, who opened with a lovely reference to when he got stabbed by a wine bottle.
It's just a great way to open it. Imagine meeting someone for the first time on a date or something, or in a pub, and they're just like, "Hi, what is that?"
Got stabbed with a wine bottle here. And then we see The Godfather, and throughout this, I'm just going to keep writing down, I love The Godfather, because he was just the best in this episode. He just seems like an all-round lovely bloke.
It does. I just want to have coffee with him. He just seems really nice.
It's just great, because all you hear about with The Godfather, that he's lovely, and in this, all you hear is, one, he's lovely, two, he loves smoking the weed, and three, he loves smacking around pimps, which is hilarious because he played a pimp on TV. And then we see the whole thing with Droz, where we see Vince going, "He's gotta puke! He's gotta puke!" And Vince is just a weird Donny, man. He's a strange human being. He's old Vince McMahon. And again, like I said, how Vince Russo and Jim Cornette are the same but different. They're both watching the Brawl for All, and they've both got tiny dogs. Vince has got his little, pug, I want to say, and then Jim Cornette's got this tiny little fluffy boy, whatever it was. But it's good. It's good to see dogs on this show. Again, Godfather was about to fight Dan Severn, a UFC Hall of Famer. Someone who's very good at fighting for real, and he was high beforehand.
That's I'm not being funny. If you're going to do it, you're battered and freaking bruised, you might as well be.
Yeah, I love The Godfather. And then we see that Bart Gunn just seemed like a lovely bloke.
He does.
Yeah, bless it. I feel really bad that Bart Gunn got screwed over by this. And they kind of go through the whole thing of the whole background of Dr. Death Steve Williams basically coming into the WWE. Or WWF at the time, and being like, "You're going to win this as a legitimate fighter, and then you're going to fight Stone Cold Steve Austin." He gets sparked out by Bart Gunn, and his career's over. Not just WWE career, his wrestling career is pretty much over. And Jim Cornette being like, "You just cost the company $5 million," and Vince Russo being like, "Well, he's old. Who cares?" Generally, it is a granddad against a child. It's amazing. Someone who doesn't know the value of money versus someone who's like, "In my day, we had to walk 15 miles for a wrestling match." And then also, again, more about loving The Godfather, who's just the best person in this. When he said, "When I owned my strip club, I would walk up to the bar and say, I'm going to walk around the other side of this bar. If there are any pimps at this bar, they don't leave in the next 5 seconds, I'm going to smack them."
Did he actually legit own a strip club, or was that a
the thing? No, this is a shoot. he would wrestle, and then when he kind of stopped wrestling, I think like as a side hustle, he owned like strip clubs and and all that.
It was all like I just thought it was all.
And I think that's where he knew all the stuff of like. I love the way he described the the Godfather. He's like, oh, this character selling white women smoking weed. And I was like, without context, that sounds awful, but with Godfather said such a cheery voice, I'm like, oh, Godfather, oh, you. But I did like the fact you like, I'd go around there, and if I saw a pimp, I'd smack the shit out of him. I'm like, you're absolute hero. My favourite thing I've heard about The Godfather, and this is again, I think from the Outro pod, they talked about someone asked The Godfather, like, oh, what was your favourite moment in wrestling? And he was just like, oh, one day I came back, I got to the arena before a show, and someone came up to me and showed me they had a Godfather t-shirt, and he was like, that's nice. I can't believe that I worked so hard that I've got my own t-shirt now. And I was like, what a lovely bloke.
Aww.
What a lovely human being. And
I can you not like him?
And also a man that looks like he could legitimately batter anyone.
Yeah.
I love that. That's what everyone said. He's like this smiley, happy guy. He's like, I just like to get high and do wrestling. And everyone's just like, he is the hardest man on the planet.
He will end your life.
We then see Vince Russo enjoying a man being knocked unconscious when we see Bradshaw legitimately get knocked out. We then see Butterbean because they do the whole thing, talk about Bargun winning the Brawl for All and losing his push because Jim Ross was what I love about this, like the inserts with Jim Ross constantly saying, I had no ulterior motive, this was not all about Steve Williams, I had no ill will towards Bart Gunn for knocking Steve Williams out. The more you heard from JR, the more I'm the only one who's more likely just going, yeah, you fucking hate him, don't you, for knocking out your mate.
It was pretty much, he was just talking shit, and I was like, yeah.
I was like, I would rather you be honest than just go, yeah, no, I was a little bit annoyed that he knocked out my boy, so like it's obvious as well.
Exactly.
Like we then see Butterbean, who ends up facing Bart Gunn at WrestleMania. Now this is a thing. Obviously, you're only a few years younger than me, so there's a bit of a gap. Did you know Butterbean from this, or like I did you know Butterbean from Jackass, and then you realise he did something in WWE?
Jackass.
Yeah. I think everyone around our age didn't I think you have to be a few years older to go, oh, Butterbean, he was in WWE for like 2 matches. And then I was like, no, I remember from battering Johnny Knoxville in a sporting goods store in Jackass the movie.
Fucking amazing.
And then they just, I'm like, poor Bart Gunn, because they're like, we didn't bring him over to mess up Bart Gunn. And we're like, you did. You brought in a guy legitimately twice his size to knock him out.
You wanted to see him get knocked out, let's be serious.
And then we found out that in Japan then there was an MMA fight against Bart Gunn and Butterbean, which would have been insane, because again, that's not fair. Bart Gunn is legitimately half Butterbean's size. But then again, we take like a massive hard left, because right at the end of this they talk about Droz and D'Lo.
I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, which was a weird one. Like, obviously Droz is paralysed from is it waist down? I think it's waist down. He was paralysed from the neck down. Yeah. He was paralysed from the neck down following that move. But then he regained feeling in his upper extremities, which is great. And what I think the best thing about this is that so many people want to say this, and this. Both of them, they're like, D'Lo's like, it's one of the worst things that happened, but it was an accident. Like, there's nothing I could do about it. And Droz could be the bitterest guy on the planet about this, because he could have been doing lots. He could still be in wrestling today, and he's like, it was an accident. There is nothing he could have done. Like, I hold no ill will towards the man. And he's like, I wish I could be in wrestling still, but it is what it is. And,
it is what it is, yeah.
And that's nice. I mean, we do see Russo does show some remorse. He's like, I feel bad for getting Bradshaw legitimately knocked unconscious. Only took you 25 years.
That's all right, mate. It didn't take you long, did it?
I feel like this wasn't as hard hitting as the New Jack and the Benoit ones.
No, I enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong; it was still a good one, but it wasn't as like, oh fuck, like the last two have been.
It was more like an interesting little, like a little insight, little stuff that again that I didn't know, and piecing a lot of bits together and stuff, and hearing from the people hearing from Bart Gunn, and his thought of it is like, yeah, I won and I lost because I won, because basically they screwed me out of a career because I beat because, and then just hammering home again. WWE being like, we totally didn't fix it to have Steve Williams win. He wasn't annoyed when he didn't win a legitimate fighting contest, and it was like, yeah, you were angry. But don't worry, we're going back to the hard hitting things next week because episode 4 is about Jimmy Snooker. So yeah,
we did.
Oh, that's gonna be a journey and a half. So brace yourself.
TWM podcasts have joined forces with WrestleCrate, the original and best monthly theme, monthly wrestling subscription service to bring you a fantastic deal. If you use the code TWM Wrestling when you sign up to a monthly subscription at WrestleCrate.co.uk, you will receive a free item in your first month's box. Then, if you stay for another month, you'll get a second free item. And then, if you stay for a third month, you guessed it, we'll give you a third free item. It's as easy as 1, 2, 3. WrestleCrate brings you the best swag from the biggest companies and names in the wrestling world. We're talking t-shirts, photos, pins, DVDs, vinyl figures, and loads more from WWE, Progress, Shakara, NXT, Fight Club Pro, and loads more. That's WrestleCrate.co.uk and use the code TWM Wrestling for up to free items, all thanks to WrestleCrate and TWM.
Episode 2 of Total Bellas. We get a recap of episode 1 and its emotional rollercoaster. This was a lot easier to handle. Last week was a lot in one episode. That was enough for 2 episodes last week. But this week one was a little bit easier. We open with Artem and Nikki cheersing some sparkling water and discussing the house inspection and design stuff.
I have a theory here.
Yeah.
Anyone that enjoys sparkling water is a sociopath.
It depends.
No, it doesn't depend.
No,
it does not depend. If you enjoy drinking sparkling water, you are a sociopath. Why would you want to drink something that basically is like the fizziness of the TV?
Right.
The steak.
Plain sparkling water, I agree.
No.
Flavoured sparkling water, I drink a lot of. So
No.
No, I don't plain sparkling water. You're wrong on. Like there should be some sort of register for people that drink plain sparkling water. Like you shouldn't be allowed in restaurants in public places.
Funny.
Like flavoured sparkling water is the only water I drink because I hate drinking just water because it tastes of nothing.
Water.
No, there needs to be some oomph behind my H2O. I need H2O, not H2O. Artem is all like, it's her home, so I'm not doing it for you. I wonder if that will be what happens by the end. They discuss cats and sage. I've never heard of putting sage into a house to bless it or bringing cats in. That must be a Russian thing. We bring in cats to make house better. That's how Artem sounds. No, but it does, but not in the way he's saying. They discuss their book, which I know is coming out soon. I generally actually want to read that book because I imagine it's
you and me both actually
fascinating. And they discuss all the admin. And Birdie, as all toddlers would be in this situation, is being no help because she's just like, paper. I want to draw now. Funny thing is, because I'm trying to I might be your niece is she's got blonde hair, hasn't she?
She has.
Her and Birdie maybe it's just all little girl toddlers look the same, but they look and act very similarly, as in just absolute maniacs in the best possible way, which I was a big fan of.
My niece is actually insane. My sister hates me because I've influenced a lot of what my niece is into now.
Good, do the right thing.
It gets better, right? So I got her into Spider-Man, you know that, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, the girl's now got her into wrestling, didn't she?
Good, great. I got told off by Danny for showing her nephew Will Ospreay versus Ricochet because he likes
old belt. It's like one of them old toy belts.
Yeah.
I'm giving it to her, and now she won't stop playing with it.
Oh, I could do that, but I get told off by my girlfriend and her sister.
No. They don't
want him watching violent things, even though she's Spider-Man. I don't understand. So they talk about their mum and dad, and they talk about how this is difficult because there's some very difficult stories in there. And I didn't know a lot about their family life, and we do get a lot into this.
Yeah, it gets quite deep, guys.
But don't worry, they're not that deep, because Artem and Nikki walk past a tree and neither of them know if a tree falls in the woods and no one's there, does it make a sound? And they just confuse themselves, and my God, that was the dumbest conversation I've ever heard.
That's E for you. This is why I'm not really a fan of reality TV, because they'll put scripted things in and make you...
No, that sounds like something Nikki would say.
I don't know.
I feel like she's got business head, but I doubt she knows what that is. It's just one of those things. They discuss Dad Bella and how she's never really seen his side of the family, and she has to hide it from her mum and her bro. But Artem says that she should try and talk to her. Artem and Nikki go through the house, and Nikki tells Artem to basically do it all for him. And I did not know that Artem, as well as being a dancer, flipped houses. Because as much as I don't own my own place and still live at home, I do love watching shows where people flip houses over and like renovate like auctioned houses. It's fascinating. I'm never going to do anything like that in my lifetime because I'm not that organised. But
there's a lot of money in it.
I know there is. Like it's a good business. And then Nikki's not helping herself, making dick jokes. And this is why I love the Bellas, because trying to talk about houses, she's like lol penises. She's like colking. But I've actually heard the word colk, and she's like colk, and just keeps saying colk over and over again. They then meet up with their mum to go through the chapter, and they go in depth, and mum is kind of a bit shook by this chapter, and reckons the dad will like it, and mum is unhappy. They bring up all the bad times, and I was like, well, it's an autobiography. They're not exactly going to lie, are they?
It's all rainbows and spot-cliffing.
Yeah. And Nikki says that she hasn't seen Dad. That's literally that's what she wanted written at the start of the book. It was all rainbows and sparkles.
Rainbows.
And then Bree drops in. Like, Nikki's like, I haven't seen my dad in a few years. And Bree's like, yeah, I've met him twice. And their mum is unhappy about this.
Oh, she no happy.
Because she didn't tell mum. And then she told Nan, and now mum is very unhappy. And mum and Bree get into an argument over this chapter and seeing Dad. Right, I feel as if the mum had valid points. I know this is TV, and I know it's overly scripted and over-dramatised, but in the thing in general of the mum being upset about Bree seeing the estranged dad and not telling her, like, I feel like she had valid points, but I feel like she was still massively overreacting.
So, yeah, I mean, it's awkward because if we don't know everything that went on, because obviously she's saying, oh, they had arguments and stuff, that's all we really knew, but you don't know the full story.
Yeah.
So without knowing the full story, you can't actually judge if she's going OTT or not, because this is just an assumption, but for example, if it had been a case where the Bella's mum was actually abused by their father and the Bellas didn't know about it, she's going to get angry.
This is one of the things, because they mention about him having addiction problems later on, and then also she even says, she's like, there's stuff in here that you guys don't know about. You don't know what it was like from my side, so we don't know. It's one of those weird things. So, but then she accuses Bree of not being sensitive towards this, and then Nikki brings that up, and Bree's like, well, no, I saw this coming. I told you she wouldn't take it well. And then Nikki says Bree needs to work on a relationship with their mum, which we'll talk about, because this is a weird one for the episode narrative. We then see Bella's Artem and Birdie going for cheese and wine. And Artem...
You need to stop that.
But Birdie is Birdie's a very sociable toddler. She seems to just literally talk to anyone. Like, Artem is... Like, they've like, she's got a bond with Artem very, very quickly. Which is great. It's just very, very strange seeing a toddler.
Because he's Russian and he's sat on that, actually.
Yeah. She's Russian, so therefore hypnotised her?
No, he wasn't. Before that even sounds worse.
Russian, she's got a tank.
What I was going to say was, he probably associates it with because she watches Sesame Street, because he's Russian, he thinks, well, he's actually not Russian, is he? So that's even worse.
He is Russian.
Oh my God, I'm just digging myself. No, the vampire is not Russian.
Oh, no, you're Transylvania, that's Romania. Yeah, you did accidental racism there.
Wow.
So, are you assuming that Birdie thinks Artem is the Count from Sesame Street?
Yes.
Right. There we go. That's not racial. That's just hilarious. That's the story we're sticking with now. That Birdie thinks he's the Count from Sesame Street.
I'm going with it. That's my story, guys.
If there is a part in this episode where he counts near her, we're gonna die.
If they do it in the series, I'll literally just freak, because that is amazing.
They discuss meeting up to show the dad the chapter, and they want to see him in an intimate setting, with cameras there. And then Nicole just says that she wants Artem there, which is weird, because for someone who's she's like, move in with me. No, don't move in, I want my space. Come meet my strange dad who I've not met in 5 years. Make your...
I get it and I don't, because obviously she kind of wants him there for support, but at the same time I don't get it. I do feel like I'm not starting to like Nikki anymore. I do feel like she's coming a bit of a mind trick towards Artem.
Yeah, I feel like she doesn't know what... I feel... You know what it is? And I don't worry, I feel like the whole Cena situation has messed her head up a little bit.
Yeah.
So she's flitting between I'm independent to I want someone there. But I see her point. She was like, I want, I've got my sister there, but I want almost a neutral support mechanism there as well. So,
yeah.
And I think I'll talk about this later about how Artem's really good for Nikki, because I feel like he calls her on her BS a lot, and I think she'll realise what she wants, and it works very well. But then again, she did say butt plug in front of Birdie, and Brees is like, can you not say that in front of my child?
Butt plug.
And then what I loved about this, they immediately cut to a hardware store and they're talking about the inspection. And she went, it didn't go so well. And Artem's like, why? And she went, well, it was hot and I just stopped paying attention. Fucking mood. Absolute mood from Nikki. Like, she pulls us out. We start thinking she's going to be the heel. And then she says something like that and we're like, right, we're back in with Nikki.
Yeah, we're back.
You're all right again. Artem is pissed because she didn't listen, and Nikki just gets horny. And it's a full 3 minutes of innuendo, and then Nikki openly says she wants to fuck him in a B&Q, and I'm just like, fam. Like, what a weird thing to be aroused by.
I think she's just got a high sex drive, because it just seems to me that all she talks about is sex.
But then again, 2 years with Cena, who's a robot man. So... But then again, if you watch the other episodes of Total Bellas, Cena's a weird perv as well. But he just does it randomly and random bits. So yeah, it's weird. It's weird that Bree's like this hippie, and then Nikki's this basically Sex and the City character. IRL. Bree and Mummy Bella meet up to discuss their tea, to settle their tea kettle. They open up about not talking about their dad, Mum's guilt, and so on. And Bree tells them they are seeing Dad for dinner. She is not happy, but she accepts it. So
she's gonna have to accept. It's awkward.
It is.
The whole storyline is so awkward. I don't want to know. It's their business. I don't want to know the whole storyline. But at the same time, if your kid wants to meet their biological father, as much as he might be the biggest sea next Tuesday under the sun, you can't stop them doing it. Yeah,
but I do feel like a lot of this has happened. But this happened before in previous seasons where, if any of them ever mention the other members of the family, their mum just goes, well, clearly I didn't do a good enough job, clearly I'm not that important to you. And it's not about you. It's about that. I can see where you're coming from. You're scared they're going to move away. But then actually later on, JJ, their brother, brings up, nothing's going to stop them being close to you. They just want to go and talk to their dad. It's just one of those things.
It's just one of the things you have to go through.
They meet the interior designers, and Artem plays house designer. They work well together because he just calls her on a BS all the time. Even she's like, I really like your being here. And she's like, what, all the time? Are you going to change your mind again? And then he's like, good. Call her out on a BS. Well done. It's time to see Dad. There's a lot of waiting and wine. And then Bree kills a moment between Nikki and Artem by just going, well, if you're going to ask her to marry you, my dad's here. I was like, well done. Well played, Bree. Their dad is Mexican. Incredibly Mexican. Just talking Spanish to... he starts talking Spanish to Birdie, and Birdie just walks off. Which is... This is
do you blame her?
Yeah, you are talking... You're just making noises. And then also, watching a dad meet a boyfriend for the first time on TV is mad fucking awkward.
Oh, I've only ever done that twice, and I hated it both times.
What, on TV?
No, it's
not on Blind Date.
If it had been on TV, I do feel like my family needs to have its own TV show. This is a bit homemade. Let's not go down that road. You've got a camera and Twitch. You can make your own document. You should have seen my dad's face when I It was just like a fucking Kodak moment and a half.
Total Kymmie. You could have
Total Kymmie, yeah, this is happening.
There we go. We're going to coming soon to the TWM Twitch stream. Reality TV show with Kim's life.
My life.
Nikki says she's in the time zone. I think she means Twilight Zone. And their dad is a smart ass to Artem, but he bats it off like a boss, like he does. Like I freely, I like to admit, no humble brag, but I'm batting 1,000 for meeting parents. All parents like me. I'm very good at first impressions. It's when they realise I'm a dick afterwards.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like you might be good at your first, and then they're like, oh,
first impressions all that matter. You've laid down that solid foundation. You can start being a knob after about month 2, month 3. Not in a horrible way. I mean, I just start ripping the piss out of Danny in front of her family all the time.
Very nice, is it?
They join in, and she joins in as well. It's fine.
I love you, Danny. It's okay. I'll protect you.
Yeah, she does it back to me. It's fine. Whooped her ass
you deserve it.
I whooped her ass at online Scrabble today, so I'm in a particularly chipper mood. That's how my life is going at the moment.
You're such a geek.
There's not anything else to do. Online Scrabble's...
There are like a million games you can play online, and your option of them online games is... let's play Scrabble.
Yeah, online Scrabble and playing online pool are literally the two things that's keeping me going. I'm a 50-year-old man. Meanwhile, Mum and JJ Bella have cheese and wine. They discuss Dad, and the twins meeting Dad, and JJ gasses up Mum, and they're all crying. And JJ's like, I want nothing to do with it, Dad, but if they want to see their dad, that's fine. And then Mum is worried about them losing closeness, and JJ reassures them. It's a very nice, happy ending to the show.
Nice mother and son moment.
They're at dinner, and Dad opens up about his rough life and how he grew up without parents. And he does seem like he's learned his lesson, to be fair.
It does, to be honest. At the beginning of the meal, I was a bit like, I'm going to hate you a lot. But then he actually started to come down a bit.
Yeah.
Like,
However, he doesn't want to talk about the past. So when this book gets brought up, we don't know what's going to happen. Brian FaceTimes from China, and they talk about going to Mexicali. What in God's name is Mexicali?
What is Mexicali? Hold on, I'm going to Google it.
Is there a place that's like literally between California and Mexico?
Oh, shit. So Mexicali is the capital city of the border of Baja California in northern Mexico on the US border. So yeah, technically.
Oh, so literally it's a place literally in between Mexico and America.
California,
oh, okay. Yeah. Pictures are taken, happy times, everyone's getting along. It's a real feel-good moment. And that's the end of Total Bellas. They do get next week. We see they go to Mexicali and Mother Bella is annoyed, which has happened in every episode so far. So yeah, that is Best of the Rest this week. Oh yeah, that's your lot for this week. Next week, episode 3 of Total Bellas, the Jimmy Snooker episode of Dark Side of the Ring, more impacts and maybe some other stuff. I don't know. I'm really tempted to check out. The Big Show has started on Netflix.
Is it a TV show or is it a film?
It's a sitcom starring The Big Show.
Oh, okay.
Actually, if you want to get a good handle on it, if you go check out twm.news later on tonight, one of our new writers, Stephen Goodman, has written a review of The Big Show. So go and check that out. We got loads of stuff up on twm.news, loads of fun articles and all that good stuff. We'll be covering loads more next week. We'll be covering stuff on Cena, Gargano and Ciampa, loads of stuff, so please go and check that out. Our social medias are all at TWM Wrestle. That's all I can think of. We Love Sport UK and WrestleCrate.co.uk. Use the code TWM Wrestling for up to 3 free items. That's all I can think of pretty much to say. Kim, social media.
At Kymmie A.
And that is on Twitter, Instagram and TikTok. Which is it? And
on PlayStation if you want me to whoop your ass up at Fallout 76.
Yeah, that's a thing. I have legitimately, I can't remember the last time I used my PlayStation for actual playing computer games.
I remember the last time I actually put my PlayStation away.
No, literally, my PlayStation. If you looked at my PlayStation and looked at my history, I'm pretty sure it would say all the things that if it was my Matty ID, something like that. I don't know. Initially, it'd be like Matty ID is watch Netflix. Matty ID is watch the WWE Network. Matty ID is watch Disney Plus. That's literally all that would come up.
I only told you if you're playing games.
Yeah, I think legitimately I played Pro Evo in October.
Just in case you're watching something you shouldn't do.
I'm watching hardcore porn. No. I'm a Matty ID. We are at TWM Wrestle. Stay safe, wash your hands. We love you all. We'll see you next Friday. So on and so forth. Much love. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Bye.